Hello, everybody. Welcome back to what I've been working on for the last several weeks. Um, I couldn't go without doing a live and crocheting. I'm sorry, not sorry. So, um, I am just working on the scarf as per usual. So, I am nervous, but also very looking forward to weaving in the ends on here. It's gonna be great. Also, I have no idea how people that crochet, it's probably just that they've been doing it for a while, but I do not know how people can just like watch a chat or watch TV and just crochet without looking at what they're doing with the stitches. Like I'll see people literally just like doing this and just going and going and going while talking to people. I'm like, dude, like how are you not messing up stitches? How are you not missing stitches? Like what? It's a talent I do not have. But I did a live probably like 30 minutes ago on my other channel, Simply Sadie, and so I just wanted to come back on here and do another live because why not? And I was just telling about my day today. My parents came by, that was fun. My dad made fun of me for having my Christmas tree up in February, but whatever. And but yeah, I think okay. So part of life I do not like, well, several parts of life I do not like, is when people die and when people move out, or like when they get married, they're supposed to move out of their parents' houses, right? That part I don't really like because, of course, they push the buttons that they've installed, and so you're annoyed with your parents a lot of the time. Natural. But at the same time, once you move out, it's like you miss being back home sometimes. Like, I love having my own house. I love having the opportunity to have a house. In this day and age, it's freaking hard to be an adult in terms of just having a house that's yours. Um, but I also there are times where I miss being home. I miss my family and my sister and all that stuff. But at the same time, so here's the thing. If I wasn't married, if I didn't find my husband, then there's either a good chance that I would still be at home or I would have like found my own place and just like lived by myself or maybe lived with a few friends. Um, which I have honestly had part of my whole life planned out for several years, and it was in the plans when it came to children. So I had planned in my life, I was like, okay, if I never get married, I will just save up and do IVF by myself or something like that because I'm the type of person that I do not want to go through life without having kids. I want to be a mom. And like I would totally consider adoption, all that stuff. But there's part of me that would literally die if I could never bear a child. Like, I have a very deep maternal instinct. And so, if I never got married, I would have just saved up, done IVF or something like that, and, you know, made my way into motherhood. But, but that was only if I never got married. So, I'm now married. I've been married for about a year and a half-ish, and so, I we're my husband and I are getting closer to being ready to have, our own family, but we're not quite there yet, which, um, I was thinking about the logistics of it today, and I was like, we probably would not be in the best position ever if we were to get pregnant right now because he's in school and I wouldn't be able to work for a little bit. So the logistics wise would not work out for right now. But sooner than we think, we will be on that road. But yeah, part of me is that part of me thought today about how like if I never found my husband and I was still single, if I'd still be living at my parents' house or if I'd have my own place, whether it be an apartment or a house, or if I'd be renting from my parents, which I don't know. I do miss being at my parents sometimes, but at the same time, I'm glad that I have my own space from them, which honestly, even though I hate the idea of like when you get married, you leave your parents, but I think the beauty in that plan is that you grow fonder of your parents when you're not around them every second of every day, and you have your own independence, and then when you come back to see your parents, it's like the love for them grows, if that makes sense. And I love my parents dearly. Like, I hate the thought of one day them not being here on Earth anymore and not being able to go to my parents for advice on little things or anything like that. Like, I hate thinking that far ahead. And my parents are only in their 60s, so it's not like they're that old. But I feel like you don't, I feel like as people, we don't necessarily think, like when we're in our teens, about how our parents are someday not going to be here anymore. And it's just sad to think about, especially when you have amazing parents that you love with all your heart. It makes it harder to think about the future. Like, if I didn't love my parents as much, I'd be like, yeah, it'll be sad, but I don't think that I would be as, like, heartbroken by the thought of it. But since I have amazing parents and I love them so much, like, I just don't wanna think about that part of life, about them not being here anymore, which they're doing fine and, they're living life and, living, but there's just part of me that, like, gets sad about the thought of them not being here anymore. But and I think just in general, as you get older, you start becoming more aware and realize more about that type of time and, like, end of life and stuff like that, and it sucks to go through it, but I have to remember that it's gonna happen to everybody at some point. I'm gonna die at some point, and it sucks, but it's also a beautiful thing. Like, I used to be the type of person that I was like, "I want my parents to live a really long life." Like, I want them to live into their 90s and plus years, you know? But then I realized just recently, I'm like, "You know what? I want my parents to live a long life, but if they're suffering in their living and they're, like, constantly in pain, they can't do anything for themselves, they can't move, they're just miserable, then I would it would suck and it would be really hard to go through that part of life and letting go and stuff, but I wouldn't want them to suffer. And so I came to that realization recently. I'm like, I of course want them to live a long, happy life, but I don't want them to just hang on and suffer. So, but I can see how it would be different in the terms of like having wonderful parents that you love dearly and have such appreciation for versus parents that you may not have had a great relationship with and how the dynamic might be different. And so that's why I'm just like super grateful for my parents because I know not a lot of people get to have amazing parents like I do. And so it makes a lot of difference in decisions and outlooks. But anyway, um sometimes I go down a rabbit hole of things like that and thinking about death and stuff and my parents dying, which I've always okay, I'm the type of person that has always had a fascination with macabre. It's like there would be times where I would just get into a rabbit hole of like, I wonder what death is like. I wonder what it's like for the body to stop working and pass away and die and all these things. And so like I've seen videos of like morticians and hospice nurses and stuff like that. And so like there are just times when I'll just like go through like that rabbit hole of stuff like that. Like when I worked at the hospital, there was this one patient that she was at the end of life and she had COVID. And I went into the room and I know that like my dad talked about this on one of his videos and then one of his fans or one of his subscribers actually like wrote a song about it. Um which was amazing. Um but I just remember going in there and hearing about her story and I just like I had to try to get blood work on her, but it was quite the experience to say the least. And there are so many things bodily wise that change when you're older that a lot of people don't realize. And I, for one, I see that just about every single day where I work. But also, having been in the position where I was in that hospital room with that patient and seeing a lot of bodily things changing, it was it was interesting. Plus, I was working, like, a 12-hour shift. That was, like, one of the days where I had picked up, like, 2 extra hours, and my normal shift was about 10 hours, and so that alone was very much, like, taxing. But when I got home, I just, like, vented to my dad about it, and for one, I felt bad for the patient because of their situation, but also, you know, like, I guess, like, being around the patient and watching them fail essentially, like, their body just, like, fail. It was a lot, but and I see people every day, like, I'll see people come into my work, and they'll be in their 90s, hundreds, like, I think we've even had a patient that was, like, 100 and I'll just say we've seen patients that have been 100 years and over, um, which it just amazes me, and they're still like, they have a good life, they're doing really well, and I'm like, "If I can make it to that age and be that healthy and be that active and be able to do most things on my own, then I would be so thrilled." Oh, and a funny story about work. So, there's this one patient that came in, and the patient is originally from Ireland. So, my dad, at one point, he, my dad at one point, he told us how, like, Flanagan's steal sheep. For some reason, I got the name mixed up, and I thought it was Manion's steal sheep. So, this guy, I'm talking to him, and I was telling him, like, I've got some Irish in me and everything like that. And I was like, "I'm a Manian, and apparently we steal sheep." He got so freaking confused. He was like, "Can I have your last name?" And I was like, "It's Sarah Manion." And he was just I was just confused why he wasn't saying anything. Later on, I texted my dad about it, and he's like, "It's Flanagan's that steal sheep, not Manion's." And I'm just like, I felt so dumb. And one of my coworkers was like, well, whenever we saw the patient come back in, he was like, "Do you wanna clear the story?" I'm like, "Nope, that story is just gonna stay as it is, and we're gonna move on." But it was so funny because, like, all my life, I thought it was Manions were the ones that stole sheep, not Flanagans. So, that was an embarrassing moment, but we got through it. Um, I don't know if you can hear my husband downstairs, but if you can, he's playing a video game. I'm getting cold. Okay. I just got so cold for a second. That was oh my god. Dude, I must be like cold-blooded or something because I get so cold so easily when it's spring and summertime when I am working. After lunch, for some reason I get super cold. And so I will go outside and just about overheat so that when I come back in the building, I'm comfortable because I just get so freaking cold that it's like it's annoying. Has anybody ever played Two Truths and a Lie? Um, I remember playing that in high school once, and it's a very interesting, cool game. But Two Truths and a Lie. Well, I'm gonna cut this one short tonight, but thank you so much to those of you that popped in and said hi. And I will be live again sometime soon, I'm sure. Hopefully, I will have a new project to work on by then, but we will see. But I'll talk to you guys later, and if you see the replay of this, I hope you enjoyed it, the randomness, and next time maybe we'll do a Q&A. So, I will see you guys in the next one, and I hope you have a good night. Stay safe, be nice, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.